this computer. Sweet. Okay, we should be recording. So welcome everybody to our March meeting of Meteorology Club.
All right, so for today, like normal, we'll have our weather pun and then just a quick overview of that scholarship opportunity y'all heard about through the announcement earlier today. And we'll go over the new officers for next year. And then we'll hear from Amanda Wagner, our guest speaker for today.
All right, so the pun for today is, what's a meteorologist's favorite game? Twister.
Ahaha.
All right, I think Isaiah and I are both gonna go over this a little bit, but just to give y'all a overview, I got this email from someone at Fresh Prince about the people we do the shirts and everything from, and they were like, hey, like we're doing this scholarship opportunity. They do it about once a month apparently. So I guess I would just keep an eye out if you guys do decide to do this. It's $1,000 for just whatever. It's just a scholarship for any undergrad, doesn't matter what year. The application is due April 15th. Apparently, it's a very short process, but they just want to know, what are your goals through a college, like how are you going to apply that to your career, basic stuff. You probably have something prepared like that for other scholarship opportunities or maybe even jobs or internships. You can probably just tailor it a little bit towards their specific question and use that, but just thought we'd put this out here as just another opportunity for y'all.
Okay, so now we'd like to announce our officers for 2021 and 2022. So first, I'd like to announce President as Bridget Keating. Congratulations, Bridget.
Our vice president for next year is going to be Catherine Humphreys. Congratulations, Kat.
Our secretary for next year will be Amanda Wilson. Congratulations.
Our treasurer for next year is going to be Landon Furr. Congratulations, Landon.
And the social media chair will be Ashley Janosik, I think. Congratulations.
Awesome. Well, now I'd like to introduce our guest speaker for the meeting, Amanda Wagner, who will be talking about her journey from tech to where she is now, as well as providing some tips for everyone on getting jobs and internships. Amanda served as an officer of the Meteorology Club and volunteered at the National Weather Service prior to graduating from tech in 2019. She became a geospatial engineer at Esri and now is working in College Park, the National Weather Service. A huge thanks to her for speaking to us tonight. Amanda, take it away.
Thank you, Isaiah. Just a correction, State College, very similar.
State College,
to
sorry
college,
about that.
But no worries. So I do have a presentation, so let me go ahead and share my screen. Can you guys see that?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, so we are going to go through the rivers of life with me, Amanda. So this is just kind of like taking some time to reflect on where you've been through your life and the challenges and difficulties you've had, and then where you want to go from here. So kind of like imagining your life as a river with twists and turns and peaceful calm pools, and then raging rapids and waterfalls too. So with that, we're going to do an activity. So since you're all at home or in your apartment or wherever you are, except if you're driving in a car, we're going to do a little activity. So we're going to imagine our lives as a river. So take a piece of paper, or you can just write it down as a list, or draw in paint on your computer your life as a river. So be sure to include like those twists and turns, where you started. You can start at your birth, or you can start when you started college, or you can start in high school, or whenever you want to start. But I thought we'd take like 10 minutes to do this. Yeah, and give you guys a little bit of creativity time, a little bit of art class in here. Does that sound good?
Sounds good. It's a fun idea. I don't think we've had any guest speakers this year or last year come up with an idea through or a like game through Zoom. So this is fun.
Yeah, it is.
So you can't just mute yourself and go do your thing. Gotta participate. Okay, so it's 7:10 now. So at 7:20, we can pop back on here. So I'll just mute myself and turn off my video. But in 10 minutes, we'll pop back on.
Sounds good.
God.
Okay, we'll give people another minute. I hope you all had an enjoyable time doodling.
Yep, I did. Mine's not pretty either, though.
All right, so that's 10 minutes. I guess since this is a virtual meeting, you can keep drawing if you want to. But I will show you mine. I did it yesterday, so did not do it just now. So this is mine. So I started mine when I started at Virginia Tech. I kind of started mine, all rivers start at high elevation, so I started in these mountains over here and came here to Virginia Tech. And I put these rocks and ripples in here for maybe like difficult classes that I had challenges with, especially like math and physics. They challenged me, like relationships, like roommate relationships, friendships, relationships with professors, are challenging to navigate sometimes. And then a nice little waterfall here. And I feel like everybody has that moment in their college career where they say, like, what am I doing with my life? Like, am I making the right decision? Am I in the right major? So just kind of questioning things. But things look up. So the year before my senior year, I had an internship at the Weather Prediction Center. And I really, really enjoyed that. And that was kind of like a pivot point for me where I knew I wanted to be working in the federal government, specifically for the National Weather Service. And then coasted into senior year. I took very easy classes my last semester because I thought that I deserved it from all the hard work I did in the years before. So that was kind of a nice, calm pool of my life there. But then as you get towards the end of your senior year, and maybe even before that, you start getting really stressed out, like, I gotta find a job. So put more rocks and more turns in here, because finding a job is really stressful and it takes a lot of your time and energy. But I did find a job. I had a job lined up at Esri before I graduated, but getting to that job was not easy, which we will go over soon. And then graduation, I have a nice healthy river here with some fish and some mammals and maybe some birds and some trees. And then I started at Esri in Northern Virginia. Their Esri office is in Tyson's Corner for all you Nova folk who are familiar with the area. So that was good. I was really excited about it. But about like 2 months into my start is when I COVID-19 pandemic went down, and I started working from home full time, which was weird and strange for a new hire because you can't just walk down the hall and talk to your supervisor or your coworker. You have to send them a chat or schedule a meeting with them. So it was kind of difficult, not just for me, but for everybody else in my office to kind of navigate what are we doing? How are we going to do this all virtually now? And I didn't really like where I was living for like personal reasons and just personal preference. So then I got hired here at the National Weather Service in State College, and this has been like a happy time in my life. I like my job. I like what I'm doing. I appreciate small towns more than cities, so it's kind of a nice calm step for me to go towards now. And then question marks here, because I don't know where my river will lead next. So who knows where I'll go next. So I'm sure that you guys had some beautiful artistry, and maybe at the end of the meeting, if you're really excited about your river, we can show each other our lives. So now what I'm going to do is kind of transition into like where in these different points in my river of life I felt like some advice would have been good from someone. So I want to give that over to you guys. So while in school, I have a couple of bullet points here that I'm just going to go through. The first one is build connections. So building connections with the people in your classes, with your roommates, your professors, your academic advisor, the townies, the people of the community. So while you're there, like get to know the people in the community. And this might look a little bit different being virtual now, but there are still ways that you can like get to know those people. Like you can still schedule meetings or office hours with your professor, or schedule a meeting with your advisor, and then kind of chat with people in your classes too. So there are still ways to build connections, even if you're not physically in the town. The next one is go to office hours. Do it. They're there for a reason. They're there for professors to help you, and also just so professors know you. And you want professors to know you so they can write you recommendations and give you good grades. And let's say you miss, like you forget a test is due virtually, and you email your professor saying, oh my gosh, I forgot to do this and so many things are going on in my life, and now my life is over because I forgot to submit the test. And if you know that professor and you've been to their office hours, they might take pity on you and open that test up for you, which actually happened to me at one point. So go to office hours. Go above and beyond. So don't just do the minimum, but keep asking, like, what else can I do? Not just for like extra credit, but to build your experience and just to branch yourself out. And this one, become involved, but do not spread yourself too thin. So there is a line between becoming actively involved in clubs and organizations, and then becoming too involved in those clubs and organizations. And then you're stressed out, you don't have enough time. So make sure that you're really reflecting on yourself, going, okay, what can I take a break on this week so I don't stress myself out. 2021 is the year of mental health and just taking care of yourself. So do not spread yourself too thin. This was one that I really didn't do at first, because on your resume, they really want to see work experience. But experience is experience, regardless if you were paid for that experience or not. So make sure you put, and you can classify it as academic experience on your resume, but put the projects that you did in class on there so people know that you can do the work even if you didn't have a paid job for it. Like one example would be if you're in a GIS class and you did a GIS project on like a flash flood modeling or watershed, you can put that in your resume and they know that you have that skill. I have Think Like Harry Styles on here. If you don't know, he has a song called Treat People with Kindness, Treat Others with Kindness. Everyone who you meet, you make an impression on. So make sure that you're always aware of how you're treating that person when you're interacting with them. Treat them with kindness. And the last one is you'll never know if you don't ask. So if you're curious about something or if you want something, just ask for it. And who knows, maybe you will get it. And one example of that may be if you're curious if a company has an internship position for you, but nothing on their website or nothing on LinkedIn says that there are any internship positions, just email them or call the office and ask. Who knows? They might have something you can do for them. All right. Applying to jobs. So this can be applied to internships too. I should have put that at the top, but applying to jobs / internships. So the first bullet, apply, apply, apply. So when you're in your latter years of college, somebody told me to like apply to a job like every day, like a new one every single day, which that seems like a lot. So just make sure you're applying often and doing it. If you want a job, you have to apply a lot. So make sure you're putting your resume out there, you're putting your name out there. But again, don't do it so much that you don't have time for anything else. Do not get discouraged. You will have, if you're putting your resume out there a lot, you will get a lot of rejection. And that's okay. Because they have seen you, they've seen your name, they've seen your stuff, and there's always new stuff coming around the corner. So make sure you're not getting discouraged, because just because you didn't get that job, somebody else did, who probably got rejected a lot before. So keep going, never give up, always stay positive. Okay. Next one is use keywords from job announcements in your resume. So what I mean by this, if online job or internship description says like they're looking for someone who has analyzed meteorological and climatological data, you like copy paste that and put it in your resume. Or like analyzed meteorological and climatological data in this and this project. And the reason you want to do that is if you're applying to like a bigger company, most of the times your resume will just go through HR or even like an algorithm, and they're just looking for words. And this kind of leads into the next bullet point, cater to HR. HR doesn't know anything about what I do as a meteorologist. They might have like some idea, but they don't know like very specific technical things. So that's why you put the keywords from the job announcement in your resume, because they will recognize those keywords that they use to make the job announcement. But if you put something else that's kind of similar, but a little bit too technical, they might not recognize those words and they might not send your resume to the hiring official. So you shouldn't copy paste the entire job announcement and put it in there. But like words and phrases here and there will definitely help you out a lot to get through HR first and then onto the hiring official. So I think that's really the hardest part of hiring, is getting through that initial HR screening. Because like I said, they don't know the bits and pieces about what goes into the job. They're just hiring. Okay. When you're thinking about applying to jobs and internships, really think about what makes you unique. What do you have that all the other applicants don't have? So really think outside the box for this. Like if you have a skill in like design or Photoshop, that might not be something that other people have. Or you have experience in coding, like not everybody has coding experience. Or like web design, things like that. It can even be public speaking, customer service. Think about why you're different. Some people even put like they can play musical instruments in their resume. Like, I don't think that's necessary, but a hiring official might go, ooh, that's cool. And that might make you unique. Think outside the box. So not only with thinking about what makes you unique to think outside the box, but think outside the box for the kinds of jobs and internships you're applying for. My job at Esri was not a meteorologist job. It was more of a geography/IT job, which is not my major. So you really got to think outside the box, think about all these different opportunities that could help you build experience to maybe get you your dream job in the future. Don't limit yourself with location. I know if any of you have had Dave Carroll as a professor, he talks about this all the time. He's like, just get your foot in the door. Like, go to Goodland, Kansas for a year. Like, don't, if you are unmarried and you're young, you can pick up your bags and go across the country. So don't limit yourself with that. I know there are other things that may limit people with location, like personal things. So this is not for everyone. But if you are more free-spirited, yeah, just apply all over the place. Who knows? You may love it out in Alaska or Texas or California or halfway across the country. And the last one is getting the interview is the hard part. So after you get an interview, all they're checking to see is like, are you a decent human being? Can you talk to people well? Do you know your stuff? Like, and they already know you know your stuff because they've read your resume. So they're really looking for like the personal things, like do you work well with others? Can you handle conflict? Things like that. So, and how do you get the interview? You have to have a good resume and cover letter. You have to reach out to the hiring officials. Sometimes I would ask if I got rejected from an internship, it was like, well, what were you looking for that I didn't have? So like I can build that experience. That's always a good thing to ask. Or following up. So not like submitting your application and then immediately sending an email going, when will I know? But if like a few weeks or a few months have gone by and you haven't heard anything, it might be a good idea to follow up, send an email or make a phone call. Okay, any questions with that as I take a drink of water? Nope. Cool. Moving on to the next part. Interviewing. So after you've applied, sent your resume in, And then you get a request for an interview. The first thing is to do practice. So write down interview questions. You can just Google interview questions, and they're probably going to ask one of like the basic ones, like what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Things like that. So having responses ready when they ask them would be good. Virtual interviews nowadays are nice because on one screen, you can have your meeting, and on the other screen, you can have your notes, or you can have your note, if you only have one screen, you can have your notes printed out in front of you, written on a piece of paper, so, or taped up so you're not looking down at your notes. So yeah, virtual interviews are nice because you can have all your stuff there and you don't have to dress up in a fancy suit and go to the office and interview, but instead you can put on a nice suit for the top half, have your notes out, and be ready. Next bullet is it's okay to be nervous. When you interview, they know that you're probably going to be nervous, and that's okay. So if you like mess up your words or say something wrong, you can just say, I'm sorry, I meant to say this, correct it, but don't like say like, oh, I'm so nervous, because they know, and they know because they've been in that position before. So don't worry about that, they know. And I think I touched on this on the previous slide, but it will always be more personal than technical. So they may ask you a technical question or two. They may ask you like a situational question, like if you working on this project and your supervisor told you this, but you didn't agree with them, what would you do? So they're really looking for like how you would interact in the workplace and if you would be a good fit for their workplace. So have a friend ask you interview questions. It's always good to practice with another person instead of practicing with yourself because it's different. So your friend, your family, a professor if they're willing to give their time for that, or the Career Center at Virginia Tech has resources and they can help you. So make sure you're practicing and practicing with another human being. The next bullet is there are no wrong answers in an interview. So don't worry about saying the wrong thing. They're really just looking for like what makes you tick and how does your mind respond to things like how do you handle conflict? Like they don't want to see that you argue a lot, things like that. So if you're a normal human being, then shouldn't say normal. If you are a human being, there are no wrong answers. So if they do ask technical questions, you can say like, I don't know, but I can research that and get back to you. And that's okay. It's okay to say that you don't know. And it's also okay to say, like, let me think about that for a minute and then pause, think about your answer, or do a quick Google search if it's virtual. But yeah, one thing I didn't put on here is do your research about the company. I know like sometimes they'll ask you about like different services that they have, or I remember at my internship at WPC, we were doing a session like this where we were talking about interviewing and getting jobs, and one of the internship leaders said, sometimes I ask like, who's the CEO? And nobody knows. So things like that, but that one's just to trip people up. They're not being really serious, but make sure you do your research on the place before the interview happens. So, oh yeah, have your notes in front of you if a video interview or phone call. And another way to practice is to record yourself. So record yourself looking at the camera, seeing, am I going too fast? Or maybe you're taking too many pauses or saying too much, like I've been doing this whole time. So it's never fun to listen to your own voice or see yourself on screen, but recording yourself can be good for a video interview to like notice little tweaks, check your background, make sure there's nothing sketchy back there. And the last one I have on here, so some of you are seniors and you'll be becoming a new hire at some point. So I thought I would put in some little notes on that. So after you become a new hire, it's very fun, but make sure you keep putting in that maximum effort. And I don't think anyone who's on this meeting or anyone who watches this recording later would ever slack off on the job. But it is nice to like have, like, you're comfortable, you don't have to look for a job anymore, and it's very easy. Just kind of get into a groove, but make sure you're always pushing yourself and challenging yourself in the workplace. Always think about what is up ahead. Always think about what around the bend of the river. So doing things that may help you advance in your career later, taking advantage of opportunities within your company, whether that be like a leadership class or doing extra training, so you're learning while you're there. The next one is pretty straightforward, to network. I don't think I have to explain that one to you guys, but the more people you know, the better chances you have of getting jobs later. And that can be said for the initial, like getting internships and getting jobs, it's all about who you know. So make sure you're networking. Ask questions, don't be afraid. If you don't know something, to ask a question about it. No one will judge you because you're new and you don't know anything. So it's okay to ask questions. The next one, become involved again and again. Don't stretch yourself too thin. So in every place, there will be lots of projects going on. There were tons of projects going on when I was at Esri, and there are still tons of projects going on now that I'm here. So it's important to become involved in those projects because it's good experience for you and you love doing it. But again, if you put yourself into too many projects, you'll be stretched too thin and you might burn out. Sometimes it's fun to check what else is out there. So like looking at job openings and seeing what the qualifications are. So like if you are at one job, but your dream job is to do something else, like check the job announcement and see what kind of experience they're looking for so you can be working on that in your current place. And that can be said for when you're in school and you want this certain job, we'll go ahead and look at the job opening now, even though you don't qualify for that job, so you know what you need to do to get it. Continue to make yourself competitive as you want to advance in your career. So do all the other new hires. So keep doing things that give you a competitive edge and have fun, because it is fun. And this is like have fun for in school, have fun at your internship. People say it's called work for a reason, but I don't think that's true. I have a fun time at work. Okay. And the last one is top tips. So to end our river, I ended it at the Cascades of a familiar place for most or all of us. So if you're seeking federal positions, so like the National Weather Service, it's always nice to have friends on the inside, friends who can help you out and answer your questions, because people here in the National Weather Service love helping people get into the National Weather Service who they know will be good for the organization. So it's good to know people on the inside who can give you help when you need it. So now you all know me, and if you have any questions, you can just reach out to me, and I will be your friend on the inside. This one, the next bullet. If you want to be in the National Weather Service, you must do this. To make a big Word document of all the classes you took and their descriptions. Yeah, do this, because the people who are hiring you, the HR people, they don't know what digital planet is and what that means. So put the name of the class in there and put the description of what it was and what it was about. And then utilize the USA Jobs resume builder. So the way you apply to National Weather Service jobs is you go to a website called USA Jobs, and they have this thing called a resume builder, and it puts your the things that you enter, like your experiences, your education, in the format that the HR people are looking for. So you don't have to build that format by scratch in a Word document. It's already there on the website. So if you're not interested in federal positions, but if you're seeking private sector broadcast positions, these are all good too. But I put these on here if you're not doing that, to meet people on career fairs or virtual career fairs, social media. People love networking on Twitter. So reach out to them on Twitter, or like seminars. Just the more people you know, the better chance of a friend you can have to help you out. And keep reaching out. So if a place, maybe you applied to an internship last year, denied you, reach out to them again and say, hey, I'm looking to apply again. I've done this and this and this in the past year. So keep reaching out and don't get discouraged again. And then set standards for yourself. So there will be, especially in the world of meteorology, there will be small private sector companies who will offer you a job, but the job, maybe the organization doesn't have very good reviews. Like a lot of people come, get hired, and then leave very quickly, or you get like hot tip about the management isn't good, and they'll only pay you breadcrumbs. Like if you don't think you deserve to be paid breadcrumbs, then don't be paid breadcrumbs. Set a standard for yourself and say, like, I'm not going to work for this company who has bad reviews, because I know that I can do better. But yeah, that pretty much sums it up. We can discuss things now, or if I missed anything, let me know. Yeah, and make sure that you guys reach out to me, find me on LinkedIn or my weather Twitter. Yeah, I don't go on Twitter very often, but you can follow me, and I won't tweet anything, but I'll follow you back. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. That was an awesome presentation.
Yep. I'll stop
Great
sharing them.
tips. Cool. Do you have time if we do some questions now?
Yes.
So does anybody have questions for Amanda? Well, well, I will start us off then. You talked a lot about kind of tweaking your resume to include stuff that was specifically in a job announcement.
Yeah.
And I know right now I'm doing application after application after application. Do you have any tips to like, because I'm also trying to tweak cover letters and it turns into like a long, is there any way to get around that or to speed up going through all those applications? Maybe not.
Yeah, I think the way you could do it is to make one very generic resume and then save that. And then for each new application, go in and edit it. So you still have that generic one with like all your experience and your education and all of that jazz. And then you can go in and tweak it. But you can't just send out the same resume to all these different places. So you will have to do a little bit of work. I think cover letters are a little bit easier because they go into more of like, what could you not include in the resume that you want people to know that you have experience about? Yeah.
Cool, thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so Amanda, I had a question. I was wondering if you could talk more about what your time at Esri was like.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I didn't really go into that very much. But yeah, let's see. I applied to Esri in July of 2019. And then a hiring official reached out to me in August 2019. And then I had like an HR screening shortly after that. And then a month went by and I was like emailing people back and forth, and they'll say, oh, we'll like get back to you with the information. And then in October, I had a phone interview and they made a decision in November, and I accepted in November. So that was like a couple months worth of waiting to hear back about the job. But yeah, and then I graduated in December 2019 and started in January of 2019. So the work I was doing there was like working a lot in ArcGIS Online and like making dashboards. So an Esri dashboard is like everybody knows the Johns Hopkins COVID-19 dashboard. So I did not make that one, but I was making other ones for like other people. And then I did a lot of training. So trying to like learn more coding while I was there. And then they also had me like help people set up like ArcGIS Enterprise and servers on their machines. So that, I don't know, I don't really like doing IT work. So I did not really enjoy that very much. Like troubleshooting IT stuff is not my forte, but I was doing a lot of that. And then in March, I was working from home full time. So doing a lot more dashboard stuff and like data organization as everybody was like making the COVID-19 stuff, like all these apps and dashboards and maps. And I was pretty much just like putting them in folders, like organizing them by state, by country, and like if they're like a health organization or hospital or state government. So I did a lot of that at the start of the pandemic. And then it was in April or May, that I applied to the National Weather Service and State College. Before that, it was like 2 weeks after I got hired at Esri, was people from the WPC reached out to me and said, "Hey Amanda, I heard you graduated, but now you have a job." And I was like, "Yep." And they were like trying to do something with like direct hire, but they couldn't get the stuff to go through. I don't know. It was very weird, but that did not work out. But yeah, and then I came here at the end of June, beginning of July. Yeah, Esri was good. If you like being a geospatial engineer is more like IT based, but they do have other positions that are more like GIS, geography available.
A good bit of my day some days involves working with our ArcGIS server infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that pain.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's very, very tech-centered and less geospatial analysis, GIS, weather centered on those days.
Yep. Yep. And some people love troubleshooting and love IT. And I say, have at it. If you like that stuff.
It's worked out well for me.
Yeah.
Any more questions for Amanda?
Hey.
Yes. I'll shoot. You go ahead. Go ahead.
I actually had a question, like, kind of like in your like day to day, like, what are kind of like the skills that you use the most, like communication, like, I don't know, just kind of curious.
Okay, like here at State College. Okay, so let's talk about my day to day. So I answer the phone a lot. Here in central Pennsylvania, we have a lot of farmers and a lot of Amish people, and they call to get the forecast. So if it's like about to rain or if it's about to snow, or if there's like thunderstorms in the phone cast, sometimes like the phone is ringing all day. So answer the phone a lot. So if you don't like talking to people on the phone, you'll have to get over that real quick because most of your day is on the phone. So there is operational forecasting. So like looking at models, looking at observations and creating a forecast off of that. Another part that I do, I still do GIS stuff here. So like creating dashboards here and then presenting at GIS conferences. People say, "Hey Amanda, I need a snowfall map," and I make one and give it to them. But there are all kinds of other projects going on. Like we have student volunteers, so people work with them. We have outreach events going on, so we do Skywarn spotter trainings, we do school talks, we do all kinds of stuff. There are tons and tons of different teams here. So there's like a team about what goes on in operations, and there's a team about social media, and the teams are endless, and there's a whole document about what each team does and what we do. But yeah, day to day, it's different. And then now with the pandemic, we have our administrative shifts at home. So that just means like time to work on projects and time to do trainings. So right now, because it's about to be spring, we have some training about like best practices for severe weather that we're going to do. So yeah, that pretty much covers it. And there are different shifts. So depending on what shift you are, dedicate your duties. So like right now I'm on the evening shift, which is 3:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. And different shifts throughout the day, 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Awesome, thank you. I don't know, I just assumed it'd be like very meteorology focused, but it's like it's cool to hear that it's like it's also a lot of other skills like as well into it. So thank you.
Yes, there's a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, so yeah, you won't just be sitting at a desk forecasting all day. Like there's a lot to do. Yeah, so I hope that helps. And sorry if you guys hear like beeps and roosters. That is my machine telling me that there's rain. Yes, we know.
I had a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
so when you first got this job, was this something like, did you expect that you're going to be doing what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, or was it just like you just had to like get the feelings of it, you know, and like new experiences, stuff like that to adjust?
Yeah, it was a little bit different than what I expected because I was at the Blacksburg office working on some projects for a little bit of time, but you only get like a tiny little peek at what operations are when you do stuff like that. Because I was working on a project and I didn't really get to talk to very many people about what they did. I launched balloons, so that was cool. But yeah, this office I think is very unique, and that there are a lot of extroverts here. So it's a lot of very different from other offices.
And is there like a certain like time span or where you like get moved to different like jobs or different stations like around the country and stuff like that, or is it just like you stay at one place and you're just like set there?
Yeah, so the way it works is there are different GS levels. So like GS 5, 7, 9, 11, 12 is now one in itself. It used to be you would get hired as an intern and then go to a meteorologist. But now it's like all one. So I will advance through the GS levels. And then once you get to a 12 as a general forecaster, you could stay a general forecaster forever if you wanted to. If you want to move up to a 13, you could become a lead forecaster, or there are 13 warning coordination meteorologists, so people who work on outreach a lot. 13 SUs, Science and Operations Officer. Those people are in charge of the research and all the research projects and science-based things in the office. Who am I missing? There's our hydrologist, and then I forget what his title is, but like our co-op person who like drives around to all the co-op places. We have electronic technicians. We have an IT officer here too. Yeah, and then the boss is the meteorologist in charge. And they're kind of like the supervisor, and they do a lot of administrative stuff and like staffing, making sure like we have staff for all these different days, like making decisions for the office. Yeah, so the timeline and like moving around, like you could move around, but you also don't have to now as often, if that makes sense. I think.
Yeah, it does.
I think
it just seems like there's
Jamie might have good
lot
thoughts
of
too.
a lot of opportunities and a whole lot of information. So appreciate it.
Yeah. Jamie, do you have any thoughts on like the moving around and stuff like that?
Hey, sorry, trying to unmute. No, you covered it really well.
Okay.
So before Amanda, just kind of quick overview. Before Amanda got into the Weather Service, you used to have to bid on that GS12 position, which for me, for instance, I started in the Blacksburg office, but then promoted from the Blacksburg office to the Raleigh office from the 11 to a 12 type position. The Weather Service got away with that because they were tired of paying someone like me a lot of money to move from city to city. So now you can just stay in the same office and get to that 12 level, and it removes half the moves that the Weather Service was paying for at some point in the tenure. So now, the Dave Carroll saying, go to Goodland for 2 or 3 years and you'll be fine because you'll be able to move out isn't necessarily 100% accurate, because now you could be in Goodland for a good chunk of your career because you'll get right to that 12 level, then you would have to competitively bid out, and there's a lot less jobs to bid on at that point. So good job, Amanda, you covered it all.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I think I'll stop the recording here. And if people want to hang out for another minute, that's awesome. But if there aren't any more questions, I think we'll close it out here.